The Iowa Hawkeyes have advanced after 2 wins in the Big Ten tournament. 2 wins in the Big Ten tournament for the first time since 2006. This is a somewhat historic day, Gary. This has been a tournament of struggle for Fran's crews in the past, but boy, Iowa playing great hoops. Again, a double-digit win today. We can kind of dissect it here in a bit, but just overall reaction to what was another impressive day for Iowa.
Yeah, I agree with you totally, Corey. The Big Ten tournament's a challenge, and they have so far met it with 2 really good, strong, solid performances that have got them in the semifinals. They're halfway there, so got a chance to really make a memorable run here, where it's been fun to watch.
Keegan Murray with another Keegan-like performance. Actually, that's not the. Why do I keep doing this? That's not the right stat line, Gary. So I hope it's not going to be one of those days. If that's a sign of things to come for me, I had all these stats laid out. They were all prepared. And somehow I have he did have 26, right? So he had 26 points, but he was 10 of 19 from the field. So let me fix that. I apologize. But another good day for Keegan. 8 boards as well. And pretty efficient. Again, 10 of 19 from the field. It's weird. I was obviously watching this game. It was 19-13. Rutgers got off to the hot start. I texted you and I just said, hey, these slow defensive starts need to stop. And you texted me a 1-word response. What was that word, Gary?
Relax.
Relax. And here's what happened. I wouldn't say I relaxed, but my, I streamed the games and the stream went out and it said it had technical difficulties. So I'm messing with the stream for 5 minutes. I come back and Iowa's ahead. So I got to watch that stretch back because I really don't know what happened. I looked at the play-by-play and saw Connor hit a 3 and JT came in and scored. So that's good. But they never looked back. After they gained that lead at 20-19, they just never looked back. And I thought Rutgers really had Iowa out of sync early, very similar to what they did in Piscataway. So how did Iowa kind of flip the script? Obviously, the zone had something to do with it, but how did Iowa flip the script?
I think the zone had a lot to do with it for a couple of reasons. One, it prevented Rutgers from getting penetration. They were getting some pretty good penetration. I think they had 5 layups in the first 10 minutes of the game. And the zone kept them on the perimeter, and they did not shoot the ball well, and then it allowed them to rebound and run. And so they got their transition game going. So, classic example of defense leading into offense. And Rutgers did not attack the zone real well, especially early. And Iowa did a good job of rebounding, not giving them second shots, got the break going, and just opened everything up from there. So I think the zone was maybe the biggest factor in turning the game around.
All right, I'm just going to let our callers know. I'm going to start doing this more because when we answer phone calls, I usually get background noise. And if Gary's talking and if I'm talking, so I'm going to put you on hold. So if you don't hear anything, you're still connected. Don't hang up. I'm going to put you on hold. Sure, we'll still have a problem with this, but let's go ahead and take our first call. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, it's the real MVP. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
How's he get first off?
That was a heck of a game, Corey.
It was, man. You are. Gary just asked an interesting question. How are you first every time? And I think your performance on this show is just about as impressive as Iowa's performance on the court.
Well, see, the way I'm able to do it is I'm able to hit the little notification bell once you subscribe, and
that
I get
notification bell is your friend. Absolutely, everybody should follow your example, sir.
Well, thank you. I would like everybody to follow Iowa's example, and when you're the favorite to win a basketball game, you actually win it.
And win it comfortably. 2 straight double figure wins.
Shout out to the Auburn Tigers for not figuring that out yet. Anyway, Keegan Murray played excellent. He really took over, I felt like, after the slow start they had. I also like Tony Perkins. I think we should give him some love. He played exceptional this game.
Absolutely. Tony's just playing, and he's consistent now, Gary. We can kind of use that comment from Drill MVP to kind of segue briefly into Tony Perkins because, he had stretches early. I remember that early 2-game stretch at the beginning of the Big Ten season where he really stepped up when Keegan Murray went down with an injury. But he's playing consistently well right now. How has he done it?
You can just see his confidence growing. He's shooting the ball better. He looked like he's shooting with a little more confidence. He's doing a great job off the dribble, getting to the rim, His mid-range game is improving. He's just taking it to another level, and you can see the confidence that's going along with it. So perfect timing for that to happen. It's fun to watch. He might be as improved a player as there is on the team over the course of the last half of the season. So hopefully he can keep that up.
Now, I was talking to some Iowa fans in the chat, and one of them mentioned Final Four bound. How far can they go in the tournament?
We are Final Four bound.
Yeah,
the Big Ten tournament. We're in the Final Four.
That's right. Final Four in the Big
I
Ten
meant the
tournament.
bigger tournament, the one with the 68.
You know what? I'd be happy to speculate on that after this tournament's over. But you said it yourself, Drill MVP. These are two games that Iowa was expected to win. So I'm not downplaying it, but I'm not going to make a broad assumption they're going to make it to a Final Four based on a win against Northwestern and a win against Rutgers. I mean, that's great. Today was a really good win. They dominated Northwestern. They've won a lot of games here in February and March, but let's wait and see. Indiana's playing hot right now. They're going to have basically a home court tomorrow. That's going to be. Let's just wait and see what happens. And of course, you've got a potential. It'd be great if you get to the finals and get a win over a Purdue or even a Wisconsin. But we'll have to. That first things first. Indiana tomorrow.
Well, since you brought up Indiana, Corey, let me ask you: are you disappointed that Indiana beat Illinois from the aspect you won't get a quad one win?
No, I keep getting that. I was celebrating when Indiana won. Again. And I've always felt this, and I kind of got validated by Tim Kruger when we had that conversation earlier in the week. We way overhype conference tournament results as it relates to the field of 68 and seeding. So, okay, yeah, you get an Illinois win. It's perceived as a better win than Indiana. But is it going to bump you up a seed line? I would rather a better draw for a chance to get to the final of this tournament and win. That's what I'd rather. And I think there's way too much emphasis put on the NCAA tournament. I saw Brad Underwood make a comment, and I get it. His team lost, but he made a comment following the loss that basically, well, now we can focus on what the season's all about, the NCAA tournament. And, I get it. He just lost, but I think that's a bit unfair to the Big Ten tournament because to me, I love the Big Ten tournament. That's just me. I want to see him win the Big Ten tournament. So just like you want upsets in your draw and your bracket in the Big Dance, I want upsets in Iowa's bracket in the Big Ten tournament. That's how I view it, Gary. Maybe you as a coach don't look at it the same way.
No, I think you try to win every tournament you can win. You start the season, maybe you play in a Christmas tournament or something like that. You want to win that, then you want to win the league, and then you want to win this. You win this tournament this year with all the quality of teams in it. You've accomplished something. Obviously, the NCAA tournament is a huge step, but only one team wins that. So there's a lot of teams that go home disappointed that have had great years, and winning this tournament would really be a heck of an accomplishment because the conference is very, very difficult, and they're gonna have to beat some real good teams to get there.
And Corey, I know you were ripping Fran for not winning 2 games in the Big Ten tournament in the same year.
That's not ripping, Fred. That's stating a
I'm
fact.
glad you remembered that.
That's stating a fact. He hasn't won 2 games in the Big Ten tournament. Now he has. I'm not going to bring it up again because he got off the schneid. Now I'm just going to bring up the fact that.
I noticed that you brought it up when he didn't do it, but once he did it, you didn't bring it up.
Good point.
Oh my gosh! Listen, Licklider didn't either. They haven't won 2 games in the tournament since 2006. It's not just Fran. This is a 15-year drought. So I love how I'm now turning into the enemy of Iowa Hawkeye basketball, Gary. Like,
if the shoe fits, you got to wear it.
God, give me a break. All right, Drill MVP. Well, what you got? Anything else?
Yeah, hit that little red subscribe button to get Corey more subs.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We'll see you tomorrow.
Before the tournament ends.
Appreciate the call, man. As always. All right. I like the shot there at the end. Charles brings up taking Jordan out. Nothing personal for Jordan, just better matchups. Let's remember, Charles, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, but Jordan Bohannon was the second leading scorer for Iowa with 16 points. So it's not like he wasn't productive, and I know some of those came from the line. Yes, Rutgers is a physical, in-your-face team, but I thought he got some good looks early, connected on a couple of them, Gary. But can we both agree that Jordan's game and his performance offensively, night in and night out, is somewhat dictated by what opponent they're playing and just how they like to defend him? Because some opponents are just saying, look, we're going to shut you down. You're not going to get yours. And if they do that, they decide to do that, it's hard for Iowa to really get him loose.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. He had some big threes early when, Rutgers was kind of in command of the game and kept Iowa within shouting distance. And then when their defense stepped up, then they were able to catch him and take a lead. So you love having that experience, especially in tournament time. Guys that have been there before have made big shots. And so he's going to be out there a lot because he has a lot of experience and veteran player that can make big shots. So he had a good game today, good solid game.
Skylar excited, and rightfully so. Good to see a lot of excited Hawkeyes in here. Ben brings up the fact that this is a home game for the Hoosiers. We can talk more about today's game, but again, kind of letting the chat dictate where this conversation goes. Did you watch? I'm assuming you watched Illinois, Indiana, and if so, what did you think of the Hoosiers?
I did not get a chance to see that game, unfortunately. So I was curious how that all went. I know it went right down to the wire, and kid missed the layup. That probably would have won the game, but that's a good win for Indiana. That keeps their tournament hopes high. Maybe gets them in. That was a huge win, and they'll be ready to roll tomorrow.
Mike DeCourcy of Fox and Tim Kruger of Stadium, the only two bracketologists that I've seen or heard from as far as tweeting since that final, and they both say that Indiana is a lock. So if that's the case, I mean, I think Indiana's riding momentum just like Iowa is, and they've got the home crowd there. They want to win this tournament. I heard, was it Xavier Johnson after the game bring that up? They want to win this thing. So I'm not saying they're going to lack motivation, but the sense of urgency perhaps could be subsided now that they've, assumably gotten into the tournament.
Yeah, we'll see. It's I find it hard to believe you can't get up for a semifinal game in the Big Ten tournament, no matter who you're playing and what it's for. So I think Iowa will be ready too. So may the better team win.
And Charles brings up the lack of post presence. I'll say this, and I'm not trying to pick on Charles, but I think Philip Rebrach is very much underappreciated. You see his stat line tonight, not as eye-popping, I guess, but let me pull up his numbers. 5.6 rebounds. He is battling underneath. He's not a mistake guy. Can you speak maybe on his value to this team right now, Gary?
I think he's playing solid. He is what he is, and he's doing the best he can. And I think his post defense has improved dramatically. He's not fouling. He's making it difficult for people to score. He had a couple nice post moves. He may have a couple he liked that back, but I think he's made good, steady progress, and he's also gaining more confidence. I think the guys are gaining more confidence in him, and more power to him. It's he's worked hard.
Lots of people excited about Tony Perkins. Doug says a lot of people said Perkins was the X factor. Eric says, yes, he was the X factor. Charles brings up Keegan's being more assertive as the season has gone on. And absolutely, I mean, he is right now playing better than anybody in the country. And I don't know that he'll be awarded the Wooden Award or the Naismith, but I think he's deserving. And when that graphic on the Big Ten Network flashed across the screen that he has now broken Luka Garza's single season scoring record, I just about fell back in my seat because I remember thinking these last 2 years, Gary, I'm never going to see. I mean, I literally thought I'd never see a more dominant offensive player at Iowa in my lifetime. And not only was I wrong, it happened the very next year. I just don't know how much you can. I mean, you just so much praise deserved for not only Keegan, but for Fran, for Kenyon. I'm sure deserves a lot of the credit. And we've said it all year, but it's just incredible what he's done.
Oh, fun to watch. I mean, when you see kids develop like that and grow in confidence, grow in their game, it's really fun. You you almost feel relaxed or comfortable that when it gets near the shot clock, you got a guy like that can just make big shots. Just makes your whole offense so much better. You don't have to panic and take bad shots. Just get it to him, let him make a play. And he does a lot of things: rebounding, blocking shots, defending, hitting big shots. He's the real deal. How many games he's got left in Hawker uniform? Hopefully we got a few more, but we should enjoy it because he is a really, really fun kid to watch play.
I texted you during the second half, and I said I didn't know that you had joined the Rutgers staff. Did you get that joke, Gary?
I did not.
Oh,
I must have purposely not looked at my.
Why do you think I texted you that?
Because that guy got a tee at the end of the bench.
As an assistant, I know another assistant coach that had that happen before. What do you think when he gets thrown out of the game? I mean, that's like.
Did he get thrown out of the game?
Yeah, did you not see it at the end?
No, it was at the very end. I didn't see the last couple minutes.
Yeah, he got tossed. He got tossed hard by Bo Borowski.
Wow. That's bad.
I can't believe you didn't see that, Gary. Yeah, I'm
gonna have to go back and look at it. No, same guy got another tee and got tossed.
Different ref, because I believe it was Kelly Pfeiffer, the first one.
That's not good.
And Bo Borowski, and it was a strength coach of all people.
The strength coach, huh?
And Bo Borowski was just having none of it. And
don't need to hear it from the strength coach.
But my thoughts, if I'm Steve Pikiell, I'm ticked at that strength coach, whether the game was in hand or not. I mean, like it's one thing for an assistant to get teed up, but I'm guessing you were thinking twice before you were after that first tee in the game. When was that? You told me about that, but when was it that you got teed up as an assistant?
I got teed up in Indiana after they threw the ball in Kent Hill's face, and I didn't take it very kindly after they did it to Brad Lowhouse the year before. But maybe he was telling Bo that he was impressed with his physique, that he's looking like he's getting stronger. He's been working out. And Bo just took it the wrong way.
Well, I'll say this. I thought the game was officiated in Iowa's favor. You go back to that game in January. I'm not saying that the calls blatantly went against Rutgers, but I'm just saying, you remember that game against Rutgers, they were allowed to play physical the entire game. And I thought the refs really tightened things up in tournament play, which I guess you kind of expect in tournament play, although these are Big Ten officials. And I thought the two technical did you see Connor get tossed?
I saw Connor get a technical foul. You got another one?
So you missed a lot, Gary. What were you doing?
I was driving. We had to go to a funeral, and then I'm watching the game over some guy's shoulder. I said, I got to get home. So we left with 3 minutes to go. I told my wife, you watch. There'll be something crazy going on in the 3 minutes. I'm not going to see this game.
I can't possibly.
Connor got tossed too.
I can't possibly give you a hard time for skipping part of the game due to a funeral.
Wow.
So I'll let you slide on the count of the deceased. I will say this. Connor got tossed, and I didn't think it was deserved. You saw the first technical on Connor, which I thought was weak. It looked like he was just having a conversation. Now, maybe there were,
Well, I think they're a little leery of all that's going on.
I know.
With fights and things like that. They just don't want it to happen at the Big Ten tournament in front of everybody. So they're going to be quick to crack on that. But I did. So I thought it was fine. They gave him both tees and got him under control, and no big deal.
Which means you didn't see Fran running out and to half court and having to be pulled back
at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, towards the end. Yeah, I don't believe he was actually the commentators acted like Fran was trying to go after Paul Mulcahy, who, by the way, I'll just say it, is a punk. I saw him. Did he swing at someone or what happened here like a week or two ago, and he got away with it? Did not get. I don't even know that he got a flagrant. I have to look back at it. But I remember thinking after the Paul Mulcahy incident a week or two ago, I remember thinking, that's the tone. In my opinion, I know you disagree with my opinion on this, Gary, but that's the tone the Big Ten set by only suspending those guys one game apiece for throwing fists. And we've seen a lot of physicality in this conference over the past month. At least maybe I'm noticing it more because of the Juwan Howard incident. But you saw Fran run out to center court, kind of get into it with either somebody on the Rutgers staff or Paul Mulcahy. Connor was yapping, but it didn't even look like Connor was talking to Mulcahy. So my hope, and I'm guessing, it's not going to be affected. Connor should not be suspended. There's no suspension due to an ejection, correct, Gary? I mean, Bryce McGowan's didn't get suspended for his Wednesday game.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Or Trey McGowan, excuse me.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to catch you up on. Those seconds. Yeah, a lot went down. Yeah, see, Eric's in your boat. He says, I couldn't watch the end of the game. What were the Rutgers technical fouls about? I really do think that the officials kind of called this game tight, and I didn't think the strength coach said anything other than, where's the foul? And it wasn't anything egregious, but Bo and Kelly Pfeiffer, they weren't having any of it today. I see Ari Gold making the comment about the Final Four. Ray says the radio said the Techs were possibly the Rutgers trainer hoping to inspire the refs a bit too much. I think that's an understatement about the officials. And this is an interesting question from Earl Hayden. He says, anyone know who the refs are going to be tomorrow? Hope it's not Courtney Green in Scarrato. Of course, Courtney Green's the one who's gotten a lot of flack. Again, call against Keegan late in the Rutgers game, had I believe a call in a Northwestern game that was bad, maybe Northwestern Rutgers. But I do think that cylinder rule, that's absolutely the right call, Gary. And I'm glad it got reversed because we saw that go against Iowa earlier in the year. We saw a call overturned, and I didn't know you could do that. But when I saw that today, I'm thinking there's no way you call that. And to even review it to be a potential flagrant was out of this world bad. And I commend Bo Borowski because it was, I know I'm biased, but it was the right call, was it not?
Yeah, no, I think so too. Yep, I agree. Bo's a good official. He's been around a long time. He's a pretty solid official.
All right, our phone line is open for folks. Let me throw up the number here, 515-635-1601. If you want to give us a call, discuss Iowa's win today and possibly look ahead to Indiana, 515-635-1601. Kelly brings up Joe Toussaint. He must have, again, I missed a little stretch when my signal went out, but Joe T must have really came off the bench and energized him in a very crucial stretch because Iowa was down double figures at one point, Gary, early. And we've talked about that. There are games where Joe T doesn't do much, but there are going to be games like this in a physical setting where he is going to be needed. And I think that played out exactly the script today.
We had the bench was solid. The bench came in and did what you want the bench to do and made some timely baskets, brought some energy. Didn't make a lot of mistakes. The bench has been good of late, which is great. You need that because you never know when you're going to get foul trouble, get an injury, get somebody not playing very well. And boy, if you can get somebody to come off the bench and give you a lift, or at least come in and be solid and not take things away, that's a recipe for success.
Earl Hayden says, Coach Close is an Aaron Rodgers fan. Relax, Corey.
That's a good one.
We won't bring up
Aaron Rodgers fan, but I like that. I think that's good. Relax.
All right. You're not an Aaron Rodgers fan? You live in Wisconsin?
Oh, no, I'm an Eagles fan. I grew up in Philly.
That's right.
I don't like the Packers.
You and Mark Rogers. So you don't like the Packers. They're not even in the NFC West or East. You still don't like them. Good for you. Attaboy. Now we're on the same page now with our disdain. I did make a couple notes during this game that I wanted to bring up. One, we kind of alluded to it, the switching to the zone when it was 19-13. To me, that changed the game around. We mentioned the overhaul and the Keegan cylinder rule. But also, I really thought that in the second half, Iowa had a 9-point lead, first half, 9-point lead with 40 seconds left. Iowa can't secure a defensive rebound. Big three for Ron Harper that cut it to 6. Iowa calls a timeout, which is a use it or lose it timeout. Chris comes out and hits a huge three. I just thought that set the tone heading into the second half and gave them some momentum.
Yeah, the Illinois game, that happened the other way where they hit some big shots and had the momentum going into halftime. I agree. I thought that was big because they were making a little bit of a run, and to kind of stave it off and bump that up a little bit more, I think was important. That was a good timeout and got J-Bo back in there, and they got a big bucket.
And then in the second half, another scrum involving Tony Perkins, loose ball, and falls into the hands of Jordan Bohannon. He seems to make those plays when he gets the loose ball in that situation. He makes so many threes and just a huge momentum builder.
That was a dagger. I mean, that's a tough one to swallow because they had played pretty solid defense and knocked the ball loose and didn't come up with it. And J-Bo hits a big shot. Those are hard to recover from.
Doug says, would love to go back to the live chat after the Penn State loss to see how many of you jumped off the bandwagon. Let's take our next call. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
This is Pat. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, Pat. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good win today. I think there was, some concern that, that Iowa might come back, a little flat after yesterday. And they got off to a bit of a slow start, but they played really well. A lot of contributions. One of the big factors of the game was that they shot 92% from the line. So that was huge. And I think maybe tomorrow, if they can stay even with Indiana for the first half, and that game gets played into the high 30s or up around 40 for the first half, Indiana's legs might start to go a little bit in the second half. So that's kind of how I see that playing out. But also, I have a question for Coach Close. I know, over the last however many years, and I go back a long way, but you've been a part of a lot of big games. I'm just curious, as far as great games go, where does the Kevin Gamble 3-pointer against Oklahoma, where does that rank?
Right up at the top. I'll tell you, that was a big time game, big time shot. Ironically, that play we ran at the end of the game, it's a zone play that's got a lob option to it. But Kevin also had the option to shoot it if he were open, and they left him wide open and he buried it. And then we play Vegas to go to the Final Four, and we run that exact same play at the end to go to the Final Four, and the lob option was wide open. I mean, it was just wide open, and Kevin just got a little anxious and shot a little bit too far, or maybe would have made it to the Final Four. But it's a really good zone offensive play that we've used for a long time, and Kevin stepped up and hit a big shot, and it was huge. It was that put you one game away from the Final Four against a really, really good Oklahoma team. So that was a sweet win.
Yeah, it was kind of strange because it was almost the best Iowa game and the most disappointing. That we're back to back. They had the huge lead. They had the huge lead at halftime against UNLV, and UNLV just come out and started raining threes in the second half.
Well, Kevin got 2 quick fouls and got 3 fouls and had to go to the bench, and that really hurt. I mean, he was probably our best player at that time of the year. He really was coming on, and so when he went out, they made a little, they made a run that got them back in the game quickly. But they were the number 1 team in the country. I mean, they were good. We played almost a perfect first half, and came real close. And I still think about that every once in a while.
I know Oklahoma still hates Iowa because of that play.
That was a good team they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I got, guys.
Thanks, Pat.
Appreciate talking to you again.
Appreciate the call, Pat. Anytime. Thank you very much.
Bye.
And Mark brings up a good point. Connor McCaffrey playing really well. And somebody brought this up. Aaron Eulis was missing today, wasn't he? No Aaron Eulis today.
Oh, he sure was. I wonder if they've had some sickness going through there. I hope it's not him.
They have had some sickness.
I don't remember him getting hurt yesterday, so that's all the more reason Joe had to step up. We were short one guard, so we'll have to find that out.
Does sickness come from Northwestern, perhaps?
Maybe.
Well, hopefully they figure that out. Certainly they made it today without Eulis, but these quick turnarounds, it's not easy to, whether it's an injury or an illness, it's not easy to get back. I didn't think Patrick McCaffrey played very well today, and he's just doesn't look quite like himself yet. And maybe
that's okay. He's saving it for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, there you go. And Rutgers is probably, again, the way he plays, Rutgers, I think, is a tough matchup, similar to Jordan Bohannon being a tough matchup
physical
against Rutgers. Drill MVP. This is an incredible. He brings this up, and I have this written out here as a banner. Look at this and explain how this is possible. Iowa goes 10 of 22 from the free throw line against Illinois. They go 25 of 27 against Rutgers. I mean, how do you do that?
Crazy. Well, I think it streaks both ways. You get on a roll in either direction, and it can be difficult. Yeah, that is crazy. Rutgers fouls way too much. I mean, that gets them in trouble. Iowa got them in the penalty both halves really early in both halves, and that's big. Those are free points, and especially as a team that shoots as well as they do. So I don't know how many free throws Rutgers had, but there's a huge advantage of the free throw line today for sure.
And if anybody wants to crunch the numbers, that's 45% against Illinois as a team, 93% against Illinois or against Rutgers today. Talon here, good to see him here. He says Fran has never won 3 games in the Big Ten tournament. Well, he hadn't won 2 games in the Big Ten tournament. So now let's just shift the narrative. They appreciate this.
And guess what? Tomorrow they're going to say he's never won 4 games in the tournament.
But my only thing, Gary, is Talon says this in the chat, but wasn't that what I was supposed to say?
What was that?
That Fran has never won 3 games in the Big Ten tournament. Wasn't that my line?
We were waiting for it, but obviously Talon beat you to the spot.
I got it taken from me. All right, let's get to our next call. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
This is Gary calling.
Hey, Gary.
Nice name.
Hello, Gary.
I just want to make one simple point, and it is that the team has 7 players from Iowa, and Iowa is a small state. And 6 of those 7 are really good players. That's my only comment, and I'll hang up.
I appreciate it, Gary, and you're right. I don't know who the 7 are. I'd have to count. Obviously, the Murray brothers. You got the McCaffrey brothers. There's 4 of them.
Sanford and Bohannon.
Sanford and Bohannon. That's 6. So is the 7th one, I'm assuming maybe a walk-on?
Is
maybe
Kingsbury from? No. He's from Nebraska.
I really don't know where any of the walk-ons are from.
Who would be the 4th? Oh, the walk-on.
Where's Ash from?
Ash is from like Mount Vernon or Solon or somewhere. Yeah. He's close to Iowa City. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's tells you a little bit about the state of high school basketball in Iowa. They have 6 players on that team. That's one of the top teams in the country. That's pretty cool.
But Gary, let's be honest. Fran deserves a lot of credit for what he's done in this state. If we're talking Joe Wieskamp, if we're talking, Matt Gatens, I know Gatens was here when the staff turnover, a guy you coached at Wisconsin for a while, and Jared Utoff was an Iowa guy. So some of Iowa's best players over the years have been, it's a very valid point, and they're being led. And I think next year it's likely that their best player will be from Iowa. So whether that's Keegan or that's Chris, I think no doubt Fran deserves a lot of credit for what he's done, because again, these are 2 very under-recruited guys, and one of them is a superstar and the other one's on his way. Yep. Craig brings up this is a different, more athletic team playing good defense, and I think it will continue against Indiana. I know our caller brought up, he hopes that Iowa can keep it close in the first half. I don't think Indiana's running anybody out of the building, Gary. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't see if Indiana wins, they win a close one. Yes, they've got the crowd, but they've had to play 2. They had a frantic comeback to beat Michigan the other night. So, Iowa's coming up 2 games as well. You hope that Iowa's healthy, and you hope that guys like Ulis and Patrick are full go. Certainly everybody else that's playing right now is playing well. I don't know anybody that I look at that I'd say they look sluggish or they look off. But what is the key? We can, I guess, spend the next few minutes talking about Indiana. What is the key to slowing Trace Jackson Davis down? Because I thought he played really well today against a really big body in Kofi Coburn. He's a tough guard. He's
a tough guard, and he, as we've talked about in the past, you don't want to get many easy ones if you can help it. Dunks and offensive rebounds and stuff like that. Make him earn his points. He's going to get some points. He's too good. Try not to foul him so he's getting cheap points at the basket, and then don't let anybody else go crazy. He can get his. You don't want him to go crazy either, but he's going to score. We just got to make it difficult. And then guard everybody else, and just play good, solid defense, and that could be the key.
I have a question, and I saw this pop up. I believe it was the Indiana-Michigan game yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, but it happens all the time, and I'd love to get your opinion as a coach. So I see all the time a situation where a team is down, 1, 2, whatever the case may be, especially if it's more than 1 or 2, where you're not trying to force a steal. And say there's 10 seconds left, and you're down, and the other team is inbounding the ball, and you've got to foul immediately. There's not time to try to force a trap and a steal. Why don't teams foul the worst free throw shooter before the ball is inbounded? I hardly ever see coaches deploy that. Why isn't it done more?
Well, I think maybe they're not out there. If they are, you got to be careful not getting an intentional foul where you just go grab somebody. I think that happened to Iowa this year. In fact, where didn't Jordan get an intentional foul for grabbing somebody, or something happened? Maybe it was another game that I'm mistaken, but you can't. And they call pretty close in college. It's not like the NBA where you just go up and bear hug somebody and they call a foul. It's got to be a legit foul, or they get called intentional, and all of a sudden they're shooting 2 free throws and the ball. So, and I think in some cases you're trying to get a steal, even if it's a few seconds left. You're trying to get one because that's obviously the best thing that can happen, and then you're going to foul real quick. So, but I think probably more of an intentional foul than anything.
So if a guy grabs a jersey, I mean, if he's hugging a guy who's clearly the worst free throw shooter on the floor, and he just grabs that jersey and the guy tries to run, and that's a foul, but is that going to be called intentional in your mind?
It might. Chances are probably not, but I can't remember one game this year. I thought it was Iowa, but I might have been mistaken, where the guy was farther down the court and they were inbounding the ball on the side, and he grabbed him, and they called an intentional foul. And they got 2 free throws and the ball, and the game was over. Obviously, it must not have been Iowa, but it was a close game, something like that. And he did. He grabbed him, and they called an intentional foul.
Okay. Real Hayden brings up the Keegan Murray dunk.
Yeah, that's nice.
He says, poster of the year. What'd you think of the dunk over the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten, Gary?
He's had a few of those this year. That was that got him going. I thought that was a big play. You bet.
And to me, I've noticed it, especially with Keegan. We've seen that almost from day one this season, but Chris especially, I've noticed a totally different mindset. If you'll recall, and this just stands out in my mind, Chris Murray, I was trying to make a comeback in early to mid-January against Purdue at home, right? Iowa fell down big, trying to make a comeback. And I remember wide open layup for Chris Murray that he just missed. And ever since he missed that layup, he's dunking every time he gets in. And I remember yelling at him, through the TV, dunk the ball. I mean, he's 6'8", he's athletic, obviously. And have you noticed the same thing? It seems like both of those guys are really attacking the rim hard now.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any question. They're finishing. I mean, it's one thing to attack, it's another thing to finish. And both of them have gotten a lot better than he can. Chris got that nice little spin counter move that he gets back to his left hand. That's really tough to guard. And that you need that in your offense. Somebody that can attack the basket, especially when you need a basket, you need to draw a foul. And you're talking about being behind. That's what you want to do. You want to get fouled, so you're scoring with the clock stops. So to have 2 or 3 players that can do that, because Tony is showing it as well, makes him that much more difficult to guard.
Ben asked a question. Please explain why a strength coach is even on the bench. What is a strength coach in basketball, Gary? I mean,
every program's got this. The guy that works the players out, does the strength and conditioning. A lot of times they'll help with warm-ups before practice, and guys aren't playing a lot. Might even get a strength workout on the road, things like that. So every program's got a strength guy.
So is that Brad Floy, or is there a difference between being a trainer and a strength guy?
2. I mean, they got a trainer too. 2 different positions.
So do you know who the strength coach is for Iowa, off the top of your head?
Bill Maxwell. Been there for a long time. Maxwell.
Okay, I knew that. And he's been with the program a long time, has he not?
Well, he was there when I was there. So wow. That's a long time ago.
So he might be the longest tenured on that staff then. He's got to be.
Oh, he is. Yeah, no question.
Wow, that's awesome. So I wonder what Fran would have done had he gotten tossed. I don't think he would have probably been out there.
Yeah, that might have been his last time on a bench.
There was some lack of discipline from Rutgers sideline. There's no question
He
about it.
deserved it. He was up yelling and screaming. They're not going to take that. My gosh, no way.
Yeah. Rose excited about Iowa, says she can't see Indiana beating Iowa. Well, hope Iowa's not viewing. You say you can't either? Really? Or is this? Are you being logical, Gary? Or are you being throw me?
No, I think it's their tournament. I think they're going to win the whole thing. I said that right at the beginning. Did you get that? Did you keep a copy of that? Because I believe.
Oh yeah, it's available for anybody to watch back, to listen back to.
Just got to play solid tomorrow. I think Indiana will beat themselves if we can just play solid.
Yeah, and I don't know about the whole Indiana getting tired factor. I don't know why would they be getting any more tired than Iowa? They played yesterday and today. Iowa played yesterday and today. There've been no further. I mean, each, and especially if Iowa's
they've had some tougher games, but no, that shouldn't be a factor.
And if Iowa is dealing with any injuries / illness, that is a factor when you're playing back to back.
No doubt.
And I'd like to know. I don't have those records in front of me, Gary, but the last time a team won 4 straight in the Big Ten tournament to win the tournament, it's happened. Iowa did it. I think was it 2006 or 2002? I'd have to think back to the Alford era, but they've done it. I wonder the last time that's happened. It doesn't happen very much. How hard is it to win 4 straight?
It's hard. It's real difficult. It's almost, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's pretty close.
The real Hayden says
because you're going through so many good teams. Maybe in the beginning, but it's one good team after another. It's hard enough to win back to back against bad competition, and you throw in good competition, real tough.
The real Hayden says, I fully admit after the PSU game, I didn't think we were a tournament team. I would argue this is not the same team we saw that night in Happy Valley or any point before that night. I would disagree with just one aspect of that because I do think this team's a lot different. I think a lot of the change, Gary, we've talked about the move to put Jordan at the point. You send JT to the bench, but you bring in Tony Perkins, who's just been unbelievable. But again, I go back to that Purdue game on the road. I know it was a loss, but we saw glimpses of the team we're seeing right now in that game. I mean, if you watch that game back, you'd not be able to tell that was in December. The only difference is Keegan did not play. I believe if Keegan had played in that game, probably would have won the game because Tony played
well. Yeah, no, they've improved. That's what we talked about. They got to just keep getting better, and they handled defeat well, which is a sign of a good team. And they did keep getting better and playing the best basketball when you need him to play it. So, coaching staff deserves a lot of credit, and so do the players.
And I will be. I'll give you my cynical comment here, Gary.
It's about time.
Brought up earlier the fact that Iowa does get off to slow starts defensively. Can we both agree that is somewhat of an issue right now? If you're Fran McCaffrey and you're going to nitpick things, you're not going to say we played a perfect game. How do you address that if Fran perceives that to be a problem? Because I believe it is, but how do you address that as a coach when you're just consistently getting off to slow starts on one end?
Well, every possession is important from the very first possession to the very last. And usually, the team that wins more of the possessions is probably going to win the game unless some 3-point thing goes crazy. So, you can lose the game in the first 10 minutes if you're playing really poorly. So, but there's some feeling out there, some give and take. But as this gets to be more and more competition, bigger situations, then it's every possession becomes important from the first one to the last one.
Hawkeye Howard is here. He says, in the words of Hayden Fry, how about those Hawks? Woo. J.R. Koch, the J.R. Koch.
Hey, there's J.R.
Here, it's a J.R. Koch without a beard. It's a beardless J.R. Koch. So he says, great win today, fellas. Keep it going. Good to see your JR here in our chat. Steve says, Coach Close, I see some books laying on the side there on your shelf. I'm curious what they are. Are you willing to?
Oh, I got a lot of books. Which one is he looking at?
Probably
over here. Yeah. I'm into history, so it's mostly history books.
I see a book that says Gary Close on it. Do I not? What am I seeing? Is that a tape? Third shelf up, underneath the big red W. To the left.
Oh.
Yep.
Here?
What is that? Does that say Gary Close on it?
No.
Above your hand.
Up here?
Yeah.
No, it's a couple of history books. No, I got my coaching books over at that far end, and
I see something that says Gary over there, Gary. But
under the thing. Oh, that's the that's the. I'm not sure where that was. That was at I think it was some speaking engagement or something where they had. That's a place. Placard for where you're sitting for a speaking thing. I think that's what that was. I'm not sure.
Okay. I can't even.
It's not a book. It's just a
okay. I got you.
Little decoration.
Randy says, "Why was Conor ejected?" Obviously, the refs heard something that was said between him and McConnell, I believe it was, and Mulcahy was involved with it as well. Again, I thought it was a weak first technical, and you could argue a weak second, but Bo had enough. Bo had enough, and I even tweeted out at one point that Herky got in the middle of Bo and the scores table. I don't know that Herky was doing it on purpose, but I'm surprised Bo didn't deck Herky because Bo was not in a good mood in that second half. I think he'd had it with the strength coach, and I thought Fran was pretty subdued today. Again, I thought it was officiated in a way that probably benefited Iowa. Not saying it was unfair, but it was a lot tighter in this game than last time out. And Craig asked the question, with Conor tossed, does that mean he gets suspended? I don't believe it does, and that was not even mentioned during the broadcast. Again, I bring up Trey McGowan's got suspended for got ejected for something I think far worse. That was a bad foul on Johnny Davis that actually hurt Johnny Davis, and so he was not suspended. So I don't think that's a problem. Lemansky says, Gary, I remember the Running Rebels game, UNLV, quick off the floor leapers, some Hawks similar. Murray brothers don't get enough applause rebounding.
Yeah, no, I think all those points are correct. Yeah, they're that was the number one team in the country. They had some unbelievable athletes. We had them. We let it slip away.
Hugo Lane brings up the 1970 team averaging 100 per game with no 3-point line.
That was even before my time.
That was before your time. What have you? What year did you take over here, Gary? Remind me of that.
1986, 86, 87.
When did the 3-point line get brought in? What year?
That was a couple years before that.
Okay.
82, 83, somewhere in there.
How did that change the game? I'm curious. I mean,
it took a little while, it took a little while for now, of course it's crazy, but it took a little while for people to implement it as part of their offense. I think, back then it was, you try to get the ball as close as you could to the rim. That was kind of the idea of offense. And all of a sudden you're teaching people to move back out and shoot. It just took a little while to adjust, but boy, now it's a huge part of the game.
I'm surprised.
I think the coaches that picked up on it quicker took advantage of it sooner.
What do you think about what Peyton Sanford? I know he didn't really stuff the stat sheet tonight, but ever since he didn't see the floor again, I believe it was against Michigan, he has been. You can see Fran really making a point of giving him extended minutes, and I think he's playing really, really well for a true freshman right now. He's giving him good minutes.
Yep, he's got to add things to his game, but he's a real good shooter. He works hard. I thought he missed a couple guys that were open today that he should have hit, but that'll come with experience and maturity.
Mart 728 says Keegan is doing things athletically better than any Hawkeye I can remember. Most gifted Hawk in the last 25 plus years. That's a question, Gary. Would you agree with that statement?
Be hard to refute that. I think he's probably accurate on that. Yeah.
Who would be your top? I guess you can take the Tom Davis and earlier era. Who would be?
We had some athletes. Gary Wright was an unbelievable athlete. Roy Marble was. Ricky Davis was a terrific athlete. Chess Sells was not, in case he's watching. We had a few, but Keegan would be right there. That's for sure. His dad was a great athlete.
Yeah.
There's no question. His dad wasn't not as tall as those two kids are, but great defender and a great athlete.
And I'm trying to think. This century, of course, you left the program after the '99 year. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking since 2000, and I was pretty young, in 2000, but I'd probably say Doug Thomas, even though Doug Thomas wasn't I don't know if you remember Doug, but he was the dude just could dunk from anywhere on the court. Wasn't a real skilled player, but as far as athleticism, would probably be near the top of my list. Reggie Evans certainly possessed a unbelievable knack for rebounding, but I think part of that was physical. And yeah, Keegan, and I think Chris has an opportunity again. I'm sure those guys, you can see it on the court. Those guys have some of the same traits, naturally so, because they're identical twins.
Mm-hmm.
But it just makes you excited for next year. And the Real Hayden says a score prediction for tomorrow. And I know you're not into predictions, Gary, but you have already said they're going to win. So what would be a logical score?
Let's say 84-71.
Wow, so not even close again. I mean, just comfortable again. And so I'm curious, who wins on the other side? You've got Purdue taking on, is it Michigan State?
No, Michigan State or Wisconsin. And Purdue's got to get by Penn
Wisconsin.
State, which they should. I think Purdue is going to come out of that other bracket.
You think Purdue's going to come out of the other bracket? Okay. Yeah, let me throw up the.
I can't see Wisconsin beating Purdue 3 times in a row, but if there was a team that could do it, it would be them.
And I'm going to brag on myself a little bit here. I am 7-1 in my predictions in the tournament so far, Gary. So call me cynical all you want. I've missed one prediction, and that was I did not predict that Indiana would beat Illinois, but I did remember saying that they were playing desperate. So
you predicted Penn State to beat.
I did.
Who they beat?
Ohio State, and you go back and go back.
That's a good prediction.
Well, Ohio State's not been playing well. They've been losing to everybody, including Nebraska. And I don't know what's wrong with the Buckeyes. Do you have any thoughts on Ohio State? Because now you're heading into the tournament. They got one more week to turn this thing around, but
it's crazy. Right now. They're kind of a 2-man show. The rest of the guys aren't picking it up. And it's hurting them. The 2 kids are really good, but beyond that, it drops off.
Real Hayden says Iowa hasn't. This is a crazy stat, and I'm sure you're correct, Hayden. Iowa hasn't won a game by single digits since the first Indiana game.
That's why I got them winning by 11.
That is an incredible stat, though.
That is a incredible stat.
Thank you for not making me the only cynical one, Mart. 728. The start to today's game was a bit unnerving. How do the Hawks avoid that happening again? We kind of talked about that earlier.
Relax.
Just relax, right?
It's a 40-minute game. You're not going to win every possession.
So you're telling me that when Tony and Keegan, they come to Fran and they say, Coach, we're not doing well enough at the beginning of games. What do we do to improve, Coach? He just says, relax. You just got to relax.
Exactly.
I don't see Fran saying that. Okay. Eric says, nobody dunked better than Sir Jamalot.
There you go. Eric, remember.
Says, speaking of Dr. J, did the ABA merging with the NBA start changing the game? And eventually college. Don Nelson drafted Steph Curry to the Warriors. History important.
Yeah, that's quite a statement.
Yeah,
there,
and Micah, you're right. Tyler Cook, talk about athleticism. I mean, he was kind of athletic as well. So we're kind of forgetting him. And Doug says, in the history of Iowa basketball, we've only had 4 top 10 picks in the NBA draft. Keegan will be 5. And we talked about Ohio State. Jermaine brings up the blowout in Columbus. Iowa did kind of get things started. Remember, they hadn't lost a game at home. And I believe they've now lost 3 at home. I'd have to go back, but I believe they have Michigan, Nebraska, and Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly the Iowa win is still, that's still going to be a quad 1 victory. I don't know where they lie in the net. And by the way, according to, I think we maybe mentioned this outside of the show, but Indiana right now is a lock according to a couple pundits. I saw Joe Lenardi. He's got Iowa as a 5 already based upon just the Northwestern win. I haven't seen an update since today's win. And then Mike DeCourcy has them as a 5. Tim Kruger of Stadium does not agree with that. He does not think Iowa is a 5 right now. And I don't believe he sees Iowa getting up to a 5 unless they win the tournament. Perhaps at that point they do. But right now, I mean, Iowa's playing better than anybody. You could argue anybody in the Big Ten. There's no reason to think they can't go beat Indiana, even though it's a true road game. And Gary, you've probably been in atmospheres like they'll experience tomorrow, where it's a true neutral game, but in essence, it's a road game. So how do you compose yourself and how do you deal with that atmosphere if you're Iowa?
Well, they played in tougher environments than that. You play at Illinois, you play at Indiana. There'll be more Indiana fans, but there'll be plenty of Iowa fans there. And who knows, there might be some. The Purdue fans will probably root for Iowa because they can't stand Indiana. I don't think the fans will be a factor at all.
It looks like we got an Indiana fan here because it's Indiana. Does anyone know what Indiana is seeded at now? I'm assuming projection wise, because they're I think a 9 seed or an 8 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Again, last I saw, they are considered a lock by a couple different NCAA pundits. And I've seen 10 or 11. If they lose to Iowa tomorrow, it does not hurt their resume whatsoever. They went to the Big Ten tournament, got 2 really good neutral site wins, beating maybe the best team in the Big Ten in Illinois and Michigan.
Yep.
They're a team. They're a lock right now in my mind. And can we both agree that Rutgers, they talked about it on the air today. They passed the eye test, and they've got enough good wins, I think, that overcomes some of those early season struggles. And some of those struggles early were without Geo Baker. That was rightfully brought up during the broadcast today as well.
Mm.
I think they're in right now. I think they're in comfortably, Gary.
I do too.
All right.
Yep.
Sharon says she was nervous. She nearly overdosed on Tostitos, but go on. And
she's got to eat something a little more healthier than that if she's going to get that nervous.
My last question to you, Gary, is what's your snack of choice during games? I understand you were at a funeral today. Condolences to you and whoever passed away. But in a normal setting, what do you munch on during a game?
I don't usually do a whole lot of munching. I'm watching.
Why is that?
I've never really have.
Okay.
I might have a few beverages, but I don't do a whole lot of munching. But not when I'm on the show.
That's good. I'm not a big beverage guy during games. I can tell you that. For some reason, I would just, and I'm the same way. I don't really eat much. I had some jalapeno poppers today, but typically I don't want to say nervous, but I just not hungry usually during a game. And if anything, I eat during halftime. So,
yep.
All right, Iowa again over Rutgers, 84-74. Iowa advances to the Big Ten tournament semifinals. First time Iowa's won 2 games since 2006. However, they have also not won 3 games since 2006. I got to bring that up because it was brought up earlier. That's a fact right now. Haven't gotten off that schneid. So there's more motivation. Let's use that as motivation moving forward. Keegan Murray with 26 points today, 10 of 19 from the field with 8 rebounds. Despite Patrick McCaffrey, I didn't think he played very well. He still ended up with 10 points, and they needed those 10 points from Patrick. Chris Murray with 9 points, 5 rebounds. I mentioned Philip Rabaracha, who's battling, 5.6 rebounds. Tony Perkins, 16 points and 3 assists. He's contributing in so many different categories, Gary, whether it be rebounding or, again, his ability to pass the ball. He's physical. He can defend.
He looks like a different player than earlier in the year. There's no question.
He absolutely does. And Jordan Bohannon with 16 points, 3 of 6 from 3. Turnovers. Iowa with 5 early. You remember this, Gary. 5 early turnovers. Iowa was playing sloppy. Not great defense. You mentioned the dribble penetration that Iowa was allowing. They switch up to the zone, and it just sort of helped them on both ends. It seemed like Iowa cleaned things up, and they end up with just 11 turnovers, which is a pretty low number when you start off with a quick 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you another understated part of this was that cylinder rule call. Had it been called on Keegan, that'd have been his second personal foul, and that could have changed the complexion of the game.
Might have, yep. No doubt.
We saw free throws. Iowa 25 of 27 today against Rutgers, and then
that Illinois one off there. We got to forget that.
Iowa defeating.
Bring up Rutgers. All that bad news. We got to get rid of that stuff.
Iowa defeating Rutgers on the glass.
Positive thinking. Here we
go. 34-28 on the glass, Gary. Yep. And they were losing that battle early as well. So they turned that around in a big way.
I think with the zone. I think the zone turned it around. They cleaned up those missed shots and started the break, and the game changed.
let's also remember, though, in addition to that zone, it also seemed to be really launched by Fran making some subs and basically getting in almost a completely different 5 guys in the court. And I thought that Joe Toussaint leading the way. Those guys really stepped up defensively.
Yeah, bench did a good job today. Yep.
The bench played very well. And then Iowa, just 7-22 from 3-point land, which is okay.
Well, you knew that was going to happen. After you make 19, it's going to drop off. That's the basketball gods getting you.
And to be able to win a game by double figures against a really good Rutgers team, that is a huge, huge positive. We mentioned Joe T playing big. Bill brings up Patrick. Does not look like he's feeling well. I agree, but he's not right now. He's not needed to play. He doesn't need to play 30, 35 minutes. So hopefully you can get him through this tournament. Hopefully win the tournament. And we're two games away from that happening. If you can win the tournament, you got a chance to get him a few more days rest before any potential trip in the NCAA tournament. All right, Coach. Well, hey, Iowa again tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow, and the Hawkeyes will take on the Hoosiers. I am debating
high noon
here. Say that again.
High noon tomorrow.
High noon tomorrow on CBS, national scale, national landscape here, and it's always great when you can end up on CBS. Again, it hadn't happened in a while. It happened last year, but Iowa had the double bye last year, so they got the one victory against Wisconsin, and then lost to Illinois. For everybody who's on here, we've got 150 people watching as we speak. I am considering coming on. I'm not going to make Gary do this, but not that you would if I tried to make you, Gary. But I'm considering doing a live show this evening, folks. So either during the other 2 quarterfinal games or after. So if you want to throw some feedback in the chat, if you would like that and like to be able to, because I know some people, Gary, we got 150 people on here. I applaud everybody for making the time.
Yeah, we thank you.
There's a lot of people who are working right now.
March Madness getting everybody fired up. The farther they advance, the more excitement it's going to be.
Absolutely. So that'll be the plan, folks. Wait for an announcement. If you're not following me on Twitter, please do so, and you can stay up to date. Of course, we're also on Facebook and right here on YouTube. The podcast version of this show will be available through From the Hawkeye of the Storm on your favorite podcast platforms. And, of course, we'll be back for Iowa postgame tomorrow after the noon game, so around 2 o'clock. No funerals tomorrow, right, Gary?
Nope. No, we're good.
All right, big game tomorrow, and we'll look forward to breaking down what we hope to be a convincing win that takes them to the finals, Coach.
We'll be looking forward to playing on Sunday in front of the whole country.
All right, for Coach Gary Close, I'm Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will talk to you later.